Today we are going to talk about qualitative data analysis. What is a qualitative analysis? This is a non-numerical examination and interpretation of observations. In qualitative analysis, theorizing and analysis are tightly interwoven. We know in quantitative data analysis, we usually start from a theory, use the theory to generate hypotheses, we collect the data, analyze them, and then support or disprove the hypothesis. This is a deductive approach. However, in qualitative analysis, we usually do not have a theory at the very beginning. We collect the data, we search the patterns in the data, and try to explain the pattern from the data, and then we generate a theory. And in qualitative analysis, the writing process itself is significant for structuring analysis. What are qualitative data? Qualitative data are those not easily to be transferred to a non-numeric format. And those are data related to concepts, opinions, values, and behaviors of people in social context. There are multiple types of qualitative data. First, field notes. Those are collected from field observations. And audio tapes and digital recordings. These are came from interviews or focus groups. And transcripts. This is some text transcribed from audio tapes or digital recordings. Documents. When you go to a formal organization, you can collect the official documents from them. And finally, video recordings, those are including photographs, maps, diagrams, artwork, and videos. Before qualitative analysis, we need to know how to manage the qualitative data. From the ethical perspective, a data management system should reflect the researchers, that's you, commitment to protect the participants' well-being and minimize social harm. This should guarantee the anonymity and the confidentiality. A well-planned data management system can also strengthen the scientific grounding of the study by ensuring that data are recorded in timely fashion and analysis proceed in tandem. And you should give labels to this qualitative data, so that may help you to quickly identify the data source, since you may collect data for a year, 3 years. It's hard, it's a lot, so you should give them labels. And once they are labeled, these materials should be recorded in the log that track the process of this data collection through analysis. It can be done electronically, you can be on paper, it's up to you. And some written informed consent documents that's getting from the participants and have the participants' names should be stored separately from materials like field notes, transcripts, audio tapes, digital recordings, and other stuffs. And you should store these materials carefully when they are not being used. You should be locked and with a key only available to some of you or just to you. And you should set up a physical and electronic filing systems, and that makes it easy to retrieve and examine the data in context. And for electronic files, you should create a project folder with subfolders if the study is complex or long. And each interview, observation, focus group should have its own electronic files labeled with a name that is descriptive. And then after the managing your qualitative data, you should prepare qualitative data for research or for analysis. And the first step, you should transcribe the field notes word by word. This is called verbatim. And in the paper, in the picture, you will see on the left side, you have some handwriting. That is what you get from an interview. and then you should transfer to digital format that is easily to put into the analysis software. We'll talk about it later. And this is the Word format. And you should try to do the transcribing yourself. Of course, you can ask an assistant or your teammates to do that if you don't have enough time. However, there is an advantage for you to do it by yourself because you can record the nonverbals in the interview's written transcription, like the gestures, tone of voice, how the respondents emphasize the word. Since only you who conduct uh, the data collection knows these details. Someone help you like your assistant, your teammates will not know that. A common error for qualitative data preparation is that sometimes you wait until all the data, most of the data are collected, and then you try to do a transcription. This is not right. The transcription should begin immediately. The process of the transforming taped discussion into the electronic records will provide an opportunity to reflect the information. You can identify the topics that require further investigation, and you can discover new and unexpected findings. That means it's not a clerical work, but the first step of the analysis. When you're preparing qualitative data, you should be patient because it is time consuming. A 1 hour recording of an in-depth interview may take 6 to 8 hours to transcribe and type in the computer. And focus groups generally take much longer time and it's more complicated to transcribe because it's difficult to hear and match different speakers to test. And the interviewers have first-hand knowledge of the content of their field notes of tapes, so you are the best to do the transcribe, translate, and type your own interviews. And such work also provides you with further opportunities to critically assess how they formulated their questions and identify emerging themes and important leads for investigation in upcoming field activities. There is a lifesaver called Author.ai. This is an app, an online platform. You can go to this website, Author.ai, and you can find there are multiple versions. You can do it online. You can install it on your iPhone or Android phones. The Author.ai can do live transcription. That means when you conduct an in-depth interview, you can transcribe the voice audios to text in real time. And you can have 600 free minutes per month. Here is the illustration on YouTube. You can see how it is done. And then after you prepare your qualitative data analysis, you should reduce the data. And there are several steps. The first step called immersion. You should get a sense of the data holistically. You should read, and read. Keep reading your materials. And then you try to classify and categorize repeatedly. This will allow for deeper immersion. And then you should take notes of data content and quality in the margins. And this is called memoing, so they are not belonging to the materials or original materials, but your thoughts. And then you try to do some preliminary classification of labels, keywords, tags, indices, symbols, and try to categorize the raw data into clustering. This is called chunking process. And after that, you should refine and label codes and create codes through 2 to 3 cycles and try to document the coding decisions in the codebook. Yeah, you are right. The qualitative data analysis, you also have a codebook. It's different from quantitative data analysis codebook because we remember in quantitative data analysis, we usually have a variable name, what's the raw question about, what is the attributes, what's the frequency of the attributes. However, This is a typical format of a codebook in qualitative data analysis. We see from the far left side, we have quotes. That is how the participants respond to questions. And then we start from quotes, we get some codes. And then from the codes, we link them to a concept, and the relationship between concept will generate themes. And from themes or patterns, we can generate a theory. So this is the inductive approach, or grounded theory uh, methods, GTM. Last time we talked about what is grounded in what. That is, theory is grounded in data. So we start from concrete quote to abstract theory. This is the direction of research. The bottom arrow shows this is a deductive approach, or thematic analysis. You start from theory, the general part, to the particular part. So that is basically quantitative data analysis instead of a qualitative data analysis. And the first step from the quote to code, we usually call it open coding. From code to concept, we call it axial coding. And from concept to themes, we call it selective coding. The coding is a developed process of a set of keywords or phrases. This can be nouns or verbs that are linked to segments of the contextual data that can enable you to retrieve and review similar data from multiple data collection activities. The first step from quote to code is called open coding. This is the initial classification and the labeling of codes in qualitative data analysis. This is sketches by your examination and question of the data. It can be used for open-ended questionnaire responses too. And from code to concept is coaxial coding. This is a re-analysis of the result from open coding in the ground theory method. This is try to identify important and general concept. And finally, the last step from concept to theme is called selective coding. In GTM, or grounded theory method, this builds on the results of open coding and axial coding and try to identify the important themes that organize the concepts identified in the textual materials. To present your concept mapping, this is a graphic display of concept and their interrelations. This is useful in formulation of a theory. Concept mapping is also appropriate for both qualitative data analysis and quantitative data analysis. So you can use this graph as a codebook. This is a kind of concept mapping. You can also use a word cloud. For example, this is a study about smoking, cigarette smoking, and how the participant respond to this kind of topic. You see smoking is very big, so that the cigarette, interesting, something like that. And something like bad, hope, wow, can, this is in middle size, that means they are being mentioned but not a lot. Something like get cool, positive, awful, numb, they only have fewer frequency has been mentioned in the textual materials. Another way for concept mapping is called word tree. On the left side, you see dignity is the key concept or key theme, and we move to right side, we'll see end, village, something like that. This is some code. And finally, if we move further to right, you will see the original quotes from our participants. Another way to map the concept, we can use the FaceNet. We see election in the middle, that is research about the presidential election. And on the left side, we see presidential, general, something like that. On the right side, we see add to cycle, something like that. And at the beginning, we talk about in qualitative data analysis, writing is a way of structural analysis. So why that happen? So in qualitative analysis, interpretation and analysis of qualitative data will simultaneously occur. And as a researcher, you should interpret the data as you read and reread the data. We call it immersion and deep immersion, and categorize and code the data. That is called data reduction. And then we inductively develop a semantic analysis. That is for generate the theory. And you should tell a story with the data. The results are organized by the themes with substantial evidence. This evidence are quotes from participants. You can utilize several computer programs for qualitative data analysis. One of them is free, this is called Qualitative Data Analysis QDA MinerLite. This is a free software. You can get it from provolissresearch.com. This software can only work on the Microsoft environment. You cannot work on MacBook or Linux. You can find some tutorials from the provolissresearch.com. And you can download a sample project from witten.libguides.com. And you can use the software to open this sample project. You can analyze the coding frequency, how much time each code appears. You can plot a bar or pie chart to find the frequency of these codes in a graphical mode. And another more professional computer programs for data analysis, qualitative data analysis is called NVivo. The current version is 12. This is a commercial software. That means you must spend some money if you really want to use it. You can find more information from www.qsrinternational.com. This software can work on multiple platforms, including Microsoft Windows and Mac OS X. And you can get a 14-day free trial if you sign up with your email address. And a 24-month student license start from $85. That's so expensive. It's much more professional than QDI MinerLite. You can import data, picture, photo, video, audio, and map data into NVivo 12. You can even collect real-time social media data if you install a Google Chrome plugin. You can generate multiple 3D and 2D graph options. It's not just a bar plot and a pie plot. It easily helps you to generate a concept map. And even you can conduct social data analysis for you, social network analysis for you. How we can evaluate the quality of qualitative data analysis? First, we should talk about the validity. And in qualitative analysis, among these scientists, they have a specific name for it. We call it credibility. They are talking about the same thing. So for validity or credibility, the first standard, you should have intensive long-term endearment. You should collect more data, repeat your observation and interviews. The more data you have, the higher credibility and validity your research is. And you should do in-depth research. That means rich data. You should be full, deeper, more concrete, and detailed descriptions. And a third way is that you should have responded validation. You should confirm with the key members in the group. It can be formal, it can be informal. You ask these key members if they agree with the findings of your research report. And you can do intervention. This is like experiment. You interact with these members and see how behavior will change. You can search for negative cases or outliers. That is, those cases do not match the pattern you generate from your code and concept. And you can do triangulation. You collect data from a variety of settings and methods. That means across multiple sites. You can use both qualitative data analysis and quantitative data analysis to reach the same theory. You can do comparison, multiple case, multiple site studies. The more cases, the more sites you collect, the higher the validity and the credibility your research will have. And the other validity quality for evaluate your research is reliability. And this also have two aspects. First one is the same as in the quantitative data analysis. Uh, the qualitative research scientists call it dependability. So see again, they have a different name. And this is a check the consistency of data over time and over conditions. Another reliability measure is called intercoder or cross-research reliability. This is talking about how you code the quotes. If you're different researchers like you and your assistant or your teammate, you code the same quotes, and the higher the similarity of the code scheme between you and your assistant or your teammate, the higher reliability there will be. And that means high reliability will indicate these codes, concepts, and things are well defined and agreed by you and your assistant, your teammate, and so it can be replicated by other use the same schema. And multiple coders, including you, your assistant, your teammate, can be applied to predefined set of categories consistently when coding other data samples. Okay, we will still end this lecture with some quiz questions. First, reactivity refers to the problem that subjects of social research may react to the fact of being studied, and thus altering their behavior from what is have been normally. So this is kind of a Hawthorne effect. So the question is, Hawthorne effect can affect what of the research? Obviously, it should have validity, because you are not collect data that is reflect what you should collect. And then in what typically 5 to 15 people are brought together in a room to engage in the guided discussion of a research topic. So this technique is frequently used by market researchers who ask a group of consumers to evaluate a product or discuss a type of commodity, for example. So this is a focus group. And the final question, in which coding of qualitative data codes are suggested by the research examination and question of data? So this is open coding, that is generate codes from quotes.